All right, let's jump right in. When you start learning C++, you're not just getting a language, you're actually getting this massive pre-built workshop, and it's just filled with incredible tools. This is the C++ standard library, and for today, let's think of it as your ultimate programmer's toolbox.
You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You're staring at some problem, maybe you need to calculate a square root or just format some text, and you're thinking, come on, somebody has definitely solved this before. And you're right, they have. And they packed all of those solutions into libraries, so you don't have to start from scratch every single time. So here's our game plan. We're going to take a quick tour of this toolbox. First, we'll cover what a library even is. Then we'll look at the specific tools for things like handling input and output, crunching numbers, and mastering text. And finally, we'll see how you can pull it all together and actually put these tools to work.
Okay, let's officially crack open this toolbox and start with the big question. What exactly is a C++ library?
It's actually pretty simple. A library is just a collection of pre-written, pre-tested code. It's all designed to handle these common, everyday tasks. And what that means for you is that you get to focus on solving your unique problem, not on writing a function to, calculate the sine of an angle for the 1000th time.
And what kind of tools are we talking about here? Well, a whole lot. You've got code for talking with the user, super powerful math functions, tools to make your output look clean and professional, functions for messing with text. Seriously, the list just goes on. It's a huge head start on any project you can imagine.
Okay, let's reach in and grab our first and probably most fundamental set of tools. These are the ones for handling input and output. And here's the best part. You're already using a library. Yeah, every single time you've used cin to get input or cout to print something, you've been using the powerhouse io-stream library. It really is the foundation for pretty much every C++ program you're ever going to write. But as your programs get a little more complex, you might run into something that looks like this. You're printing out your data, but it's just a jumbled, unaligned mess. I mean, it works, sure, but it's super hard to read and it doesn't exactly scream professional, does it? And this is where C++ gives us a specialized tool for the job, the iomanip library. That stands for Input-Output Manipulation. It gives you these awesome little functions like setW to set a column's width, setPrecision to get your decimal points just right, and left or right to handle the alignment. And using it is super straightforward. You just include the library, and then right before you print each piece of data, you can tell cout exactly how you want it to look. You can set the alignment, define the width for each column, and use fixed and setPrecision to make sure all your numbers look totally clean and uniform. And boom, look at the result. With just a few extra commands, that messy blob of text is transformed into a perfectly aligned, easy-to-read table. It's the perfect example of just picking the right tool for the job to get a really professional result. Okay, let's put the formatting tools down for a sec and pick up the ones that are basically a super-powered calculator and a data converter all rolled into one. So anytime you need to do some common math, the cmath library should be your first stop. You need the square root of a number? Just use sqrt. Need to calculate x to the power of y? That's what pow is for. All those essential math functions are right there, totally ready to go. Now here's another common headache, getting input as text when what you really need is a number. Well, the C standard library is the tool for that. It gives you functions like ATOI, which stands for ASCII to integer, that can instantly convert a string of digits into an actual integer your program can do math with. It is absolutely essential for solid input handling.
All right, time to switch gears again. Now we're going to look at the tools that are designed specifically for working with text, from entire sentences all the way down to single characters.
Now, this is a really important distinction to understand. The modern C++ string library gives you a really powerful and, more importantly, a safe way to work with text. You might also see cstring, which is an older library that comes from the C language, and while it's good to know about for almost all of your new code, the modern C++ string is the tool you're going to want to reach for. So what if you need to zoom in and just inspect individual characters? For that, you have the cntype library. It's like having a magnifying glass for your characters. You can ask it things like, hey, is this character a letter with alphabet? Or is it a number with digit? You can also instantly convert characters between upper and lower case, which is so incredibly useful for things like validating user input. And this one,
Oh, this one is a real game changer. The sstream library lets you treat a regular string as if it were its own little mini console. It's an amazingly powerful tool. So for example, if you have a string like John 25, you can use sstream to just pluck out the name John and the number 25 as two separate pieces of data. It's incredible. Okay, we've filled up our toolbox with some fantastic tools. Theory is great and all, but now it's time to actually put them to work and solve a real problem. All right, here's a classic programming challenge for you. Your program needs to ask a user for the length and width of a rectangle, and then it has to compute and display the area and the perimeter. So take a second. Before I show you the answer, think about it. Which tools from our tour would you grab for this job? So let's break it down. First, to talk to the user, we absolutely need ioStream for sin and count. That's a no-brainer. We don't technically need cmath for this simple calculation. But hey, if we wanted to find the diagonal, we'd need its square root function. And finally, to make our results look pretty, we'd pull in iomanip. See? It's all about selecting the right tools for the specific tasks you have. And this logic applies to pretty much any problem you're going to face. If you're on a site like Caddis solving a tricky math problem, cmath is going to be your best friend. If a problem demands your output is formatted in a very specific way, iomanip is the tool you need. And if you have to parse some weird, complex line of text input, sstream is going to save the day. It's all about recognizing the pattern of the problem. And this all brings us back to that core idea. C++ provides a rich set of standard libraries, a collection of code that performs various generic and common tasks. What that really means is this isn't some optional feature. This is the heart of writing efficient, modern C++ code. Knowing your tools is just as important as knowing the language itself. So, you've had the grand tour. You've seen the essential tools for talking to the user, for crunching numbers, for mastering text. The toolbox is wide open, and you've got that first set of tools right in your hands. So really, the only question left is, what are you going to build?